and who are the major importers of refined products, to begin to look inwards and consider alternative means of survival in the oil and gas sector, and not wait until the death knell is sounded on them. So for me, it is just a way of giving that warning that, look, it's almost up. The game is almost up. We will continue to monitor events as they unfold, and it is only, this 15% is only on imported fuel. Like I said, if you buy a car from Innocent, and an average custom officer knows that Innocent is domiciled in Nigeria, it's not going to stop you on the highway to bring your custom papers, because there is no way you could have imported Innocent vehicle. You know, and so you're not paying tariff, you're not paying anything. So, and that's what we are trying to look at here, protecting the local industry. If Dangote, perhaps Bua, are fully engaged and they are producing to capacity, in fact, export will be encouraged. We will have a stronger foreign exchange, and more money will come to our foreign reserve, because what has been a pattern of capital flight over the years would have to stop. And it's a game changer, and people should learn to live with it. Sometimes technology, sometimes vagaries of the international business, or some other variables may impact on you if you are not smart to leverage on new ways of doing business. We have seen managers being taken out. Today, IBM is no longer in existence. Technology drove them underground. We have seen the likes of Nokia going down. BlackBerry went down because of new innovations along the line. So we should be prepared to face some of these challenges. And that is the message to Dapman and other people that own tech farms. Better queue behind these people that are coming in to do business locally, so that you can take your own share of the business. And of course, some retail outlets are joining Dangote Refinery. They're registering with him. Initially, it was MRS, Hayden, and I think AP that were of taking from Dangote. But today, you have as many as like 20 that are registered with him, and is planning to roll out 4,000 trucks. And the gantry feeds a truck within 4 minutes. So which means technically you can roll out like 300, 400 trucks in a day, which is enough to saturate certain part of the country. But the next day, you would also get same supply and off and on like that, and we'll get, and then if Dangote produced to capacity, it will give 100,100,000 liters a day. And our total consumption today in Nigeria hovers between 40 and 45. It has never peaked at 50 million liters. So there is room for export. If Bua comes, it will saturate the local market, and it still exports. A lot of people need our product in West Africa, rather than going to Venezuela, rather than going to some other countries. You know, if you have to, you can even drive your trailer across the borders here, you know, and you can do your business through shipping across borders for West Africa, East Africa, Central Africa, and the rest of Africa. So it's a game changer. We have to live with it.
Okay, you know, while you were talking, it looked like you peeped into my questions and you were answering them. And you were answering them. Okay, so one of the things I was going to ask you was, if this policy was well-timed, especially given Nigeria's pressures, inflationary pressures, and of course high cost of living. And of course, I was also going to ask you, Eva, if you think the suspension reflects responsiveness, and then you made mention of the fact that they might have considered it. Of course, we don't know what is in their mind, but they might have considered it based on the timing that this might not be the best time for us to have things like this, because really, we know how our filling stations can be when it's this period. Okay, but I want to ask, don't you think that our government should focus more on fixing local refineries before introducing policies like this?
You mean this Ogbange called an NPC refineries in Port Harcourt, Warri, and the Kaduna?
Or privatization, or some, but just ensure that our refineries work rather than just Dangote alone and BUA.
Can you imagine yourself making a Volkswagen Beetle? I'm sure you were not born when they were using Volkswagen Beetle. No, you met the ones that are in use when you were born.
As I was
Volkswagens were made in the 70s.
Okay, I met the ones that were used.
You only met the one in use. Volkswagen Beetle.
Because I know I'm an agency.
So now you understand that can you how much of calibration, how much of refurbishing can you do to make a Beetle car a brand new car today? It's not possible. In fact, they shut down the plants over 30 years ago. It's the same thing with our refineries. Now you have to bend over backwards to beg people to fabricate something that is similar to the part that is bad from this refinery. So rather than waste our money, which we have been doing over the years, in the last 30 years or more, why don't we just give out to private concerns? Those ones may just buy the space and some other equipment that are long-lasting, and then do a real turnaround of the refinery. Unlike when government is involved, from the first point of approval to the second layer of approval to the third layer to the fourth layer to the contractor. At the end of the day, if 100 billion is allocated, what comes to the contractor may be less than 30 billion. And so the contractor would also want to make profit. He would rather do a 10 billion naira job. Meanwhile, the optics is Nigeria had sunk 100 billion into revamping a particular refinery owned by government. And that's what has been happening over the years. So for me, let those refineries go. If you now give out those refineries and you have enough from the proceeds of giving them out, then you can add more money and build, even if it's just 100,000 capacity refinery owned by government, which will be competitive. And I don't think government is even interested in building a new refinery, because if they had that in mind, they wouldn't have invested in Dangote. Because as we speak, Buhari government pledged 26% equity in Dangote refinery, and he was able to pay up to 7.2 or 7.6. And government is also looking at further investment in that. So rather than consider the moribund ones, invest in Boa, invest in Dangote, and then you get your dividends, which will be better. We should better serve Nigerians. Like NNLG. Nigeria has about, I think, 49% stake, while the private sector has 51%. Today, it's a cash cow for government, and you will never hear of any problem in that place. Anything that is government-owned is not owned by anybody, and it could go under any time because of the malicious and rapacious inclination of politicians and politically exposed people to milking the country dry at every turn.
Okay, recently, I think sometime last week or 2 weeks ago, one of the officials of the NNPCL had come out to say if I'm not saying the exact words, paraphrasing now, that if they get a good buyer or a very potential buyer, that they are likely or they are actually thinking about selling our refineries. But really, I think that...
But that is negating Ojulari, the current group managing director of NNPC,
Okay.
who said we should give him another 60 billion to revamp the four refineries.
So that exactly now, they're not speaking in one voice.
Now, let me now analyze that to you, for you to know how much we do a lot of damage to the economy of this country. Dangote refinery, $20 billion, 650,000 barrel capacity. The four refineries, Kaduna, Warri, Port Harcourt 1, Port Harcourt 2, combined capacity is now up to 300. And you are now seeking to spend 60 billion. When there were structures on ground, you are not going to buy land, you are not going to buy built-up area just for the maintenance of the equipment. Is that realistic? Because what that translates to is what you are going to spend to revamp less than 300,000 barrels. Somebody has spent
less than that.
A third of it to have a clean, newly built refinery with 650,000 capacity. And is also planning to even raise the bar by increasing to 700 and ultimately 1.4 million in the nearest future. How does that logically sound? It defies logic. And that's to tell you how wasteful we are in this country. But if we don't bring this nearer home to Nigerians, we are only fond of saying, we no go agree, we no go agree. On what basis are we saying we no go agree? So you need to have superior argument and verified data for us to move forward. We can't continue like this, especially in the oil and gas, particularly in the downstream sector. Upstream, we know what goes on there, but it's not something that we can tell a layman. It will be difficult for a layman to understand. But then, this one that concerns you and me, because even if you don't have a car, you travel by road, you travel by air, so you need fuel, and it's the oxygen of the nation. So it is better we are better informed for us to make choices, for us to be able to argue it out. And because these politicians, they prey on our ignorance and lack of knowledge to bamboozle us and give us a wrong direction without us knowing. We follow them.
Okay, yeah, we know that the downstream sector has been deregulated. But would you really say we are really practicing the deregulation as it should in Nigeria at the moment?
Of course.
On the downstream sector?
Of course. Look, this moment as we speak, if you go to a fuel station, you might find 920 liters per liter. 920 naira per liter. But you may wake up to see 860. The next 24 hours, you could see another 930. That is responding to the vagaries of the market. Unlike before, even if you are going to report at 800, if it's pegged at 820, you cannot sell beyond 820. So the cap has been removed. So you can go to any length. And now it's a matter of choice. There are two things that drive you to any filling station. It's either the pricing or the integrity of that station. That you know that 10 liters is 10 liters in this station. Whereas in this particular filling station, it could be 7 liters and you are paying for 10 liters. So no matter how low the price of that station that lacks integrity, you will not want to go. You rather go to the one that is more expensive, that you are sure you are buying the number of liters with the amount you have paid. Then two, quality of the fuel. For me, I have tested it. That was some months back. Somebody just told me, he said, do you know that the product of Dangote outlasts that of other importers, including NNPC? I was skeptical. But one of my cars, I don't have many anyway, just two. And I usually use, because it's a hybrid Camry, I usually commute from Lagos to Ibadan with about, I think, 12 liters. So on this fateful day, I decided to try what this man said. You know, there was also some of these things in the social media where they will pour other imported fuel in a generator, pour Dangote's own in a generator. 2 hours after you have exhausted the one from other filling station, Dangote's own will still be running. But I just saw it as maybe marketing strategy or whatever. But lo and behold, as a media practitioner, I don't want to be asked, did you find out? I bought that fuel. Same distance, same terrain of the road. And lo and behold, I expended only 9 liters. Wow. So that means I have 3 liters in my pocket. So today, I don't wait for my fuel to go down. Once I know it has gotten to the threshold, I look for retail outlets that are attached to Dangote products. And I go in and buy, and I'm satisfied. So we have to also contend with that. Though I'm sorry, at the risk of making advert for Dangote, but that's the truth. There was a time here that I was really, really against Dangote, because I know Dangote and government were playing hide and seek when Dangote was not ready. A lot of lies were spilled just to allow Dangote to put certain things in order. But right now, they are sure.
Okay, we have our guest join us from Benin. Welcome, Comrade Wire. Please, can you hear me?
Maybe he didn't unmute his mic.
Can you unmute your device, please?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you. Good evening.
Hello.
And welcome to the issues. Welcome to the conversation tonight.
Good evening.
Okay, so let's just briefly hear from you before I move to the next conversation. So we've been talking about the suspension or the halting of the 15% import duty on petroleum products by the federal government. And I want to ask you, what do you think about this new development?
First of all, I want to thank the government for having a rethink, because the last time on the program, I actually lamented that an increase or offshoot in by 50% is definitely going to mean a direct increase in the prices of fuel and diesel, and whatsoever affects fuel and diesel invariably has affected the price of transportation, you know, and general cost of living, which is going to be already, adding to the already exacerbated fate or plight of the common man in society. So it's a good thing that the government has had a rethink by suspending it or resigning on their thoughts of the 15% increase. So for me, is a very, very welcome development. I applaud them for that, even as I will really appeal to them to make more people friendly policies, not just this alone, but they should bring up more plans or strategies that will be geared towards cushioning the effects of the economy on the common man.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on. We'll come back to you. In a major development from Nigeria's National Assembly, the House of Representatives has directed the Federal Ministry of Education and the West African Examinations Council to suspend the planned introduction of computer-based testing for school candidates. Lawmakers say the rollout, initially scheduled for 2026, should be delayed until 2030 to allow time for schools, especially in the rural areas, to acquire the necessary infrastructure, including functional computers, internet access, and reliable electricity. The House expressed concern that rushing into CBT exams could lead to massive failures and frustration among students, noting that over 70% of candidates in rural communities would be disadvantaged. To bridge the gap, legislators have called for budgetary provisions between 2026 and 2029 to recruit computer teachers, build ICT halls, provide standby generators, and assess private schools' readiness before fully implementing the CBT policy in 2030. Let me come to you first, sir. You know, would you applaud this move by the House of Reps asking the WAEC or the exam body to hold on with the CBT implementation to 2030?
There's no way, even if it's 2030, there's no way that policy will not run into a hitch.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. The percentage of students in rural area in any state of the federation, including Lagos, cannot be less than 20 to 30%. In some areas, you have up to 60%. And these are far-flung areas where you don't even have internet access. Now, there are communities where they only teach computer science in theory. No electricity to power systems, no internet. And so, at best, they'll bring them a moribund desktop. This is how a computer looks like. Or maybe if they have a sophisticated teacher who has a laptop, you just show it to them. Is it possible for those students to pass CBT exam when they are not conversant with the use of systems? Some they not even know how to boot a system. Even those in urban areas. I took my son, the baby of the house, some years back to his CBT center. And 2 students came out crying. And I accosted one of them. I said, why are you crying? He said that the time allotted was not enough. Do you know the mistake he made? After answering the first paper, exhausting the questions in the first paper, he just saw submit. Instead of moving to next, just press submit, and he was only able to access only one paper. And there's nobody you can call at that moment to rescue you. So he would have been graded on just 1 out of 4 papers. Now, if somebody in urban area has not been schooled enough, and then you now want students to run through 8 subjects, 9 subjects through CBT, where there could be disruptions, where the generator may pack up midway, electricity from national grid is not stable, is not reliable, internet may be disrupted, the backbone in that area